Hi everyone! Say hi, stubbies! We are going to talk to you today about quarantining, if I could say that right, and why you need to quarantine your new cat or kitten. And Stubby and I are going to have some little snuggle time while Mommy does this, right? Yeah. So, it is a critical step in bringing a new pet into your household to keep everybody safe and healthy, and unfortunately ends up being one of the biggest frustrations for at least the breeders in the Little Nudist Network when we advise that to adopters, and we have a kitten go home instruction list on the website and instructs exactly how to bring your new kitten into your home and how to quarantine and why, yada yada. And the kitty will go home and the breeders will check in and, hey, how's your kitten doing? And then the people will respond back with a picture or a message saying, oh, it's good, but the other cat hissed at them or whacked them, and you know, they're not getting along so great yet. And we're just like, you know, hand to head disease because we've gone over and over and then people don't listen. And you know, it's frustrating because it's dangerous. It's a dangerous practice to bring a new pet into your house and not quarantine. And it doesn't matter from what cattery, no matter how great the cattery is, if it's from a family friend, if it's from an animal shelter, if it's from the street. I mean, most people, I think, would think like a cat from the street, they would quarantine. They wouldn't want around their other animals. They would think maybe it would, you know, have something. But when it's from like a established, sorry, the video's cutting my head off, but that's okay. My hair's not that great anyway. When the kitten's from an established, you know, nice, clean, professional cattery like Little Nudists, you know, people, I guess, kind of just don't have that worry, so they think that it's not that really important and that big of a necessity. But it absolutely is. And the reason being is that it's a very stressful time for both animals is the number one biggest reason. It's very stressful. Your new kitten or cat, if you're adopting an adult cat, has never gone through anything as stressful as that period in its entire life. Like, especially, I mean, if you're talking a 3-month-old kitten, they went from 0 to 3 months in the breeder's home, only ever being around their mom cat, their siblings, and your breeder and your breeder's family, maybe a family dog, pet, or whatnot. But that's it, you know, and they made a few vet trips, a few little car rides to the vet, and one big stressful thing, a spay or neuter surgery. But none of that compares in kitty world to this big traveling home, especially if they have a long car ride to get home or an airplane flight to get home. So your kitten's at its most stressed out, most vulnerable point that it will ever be in your life, in your home, unless, of course, something crazy traumatic happens in your home, or if you move again, if you move in the future. A move is the biggest stress thing to a cat. Cats don't, in general, adjust very well to changes. These cats, hairless cats, do much better than most other cats. I wouldn't say necessarily other purebred breeds, but especially like your domestic short-haired cat, they don't adjust well at all. These guys seem to adjust quite a bit better, but still, it's stressful to them. And so you got new kitten over here, super stressed out. And then you got Stubborn, you know, your resident cat, we call them, or cats, and suddenly they're really stressed out because they're like, who is this? What is this? Why is this new thing here? You know, it's going to be a big adjustment for them. Cats cats are not pack animals. You know, people tend to overlook that or forget that or just never think of it. You know, dogs in the wild live in packs, and cats in the wild, they don't naturally live in packs. You may see cat colonies, but everybody still has their own little territories. You know, even like where I was living last year, huge feral cat population there, but they were all very well cared for in the community, spayed, neutered, you know, and purposefully like spot fed. So that's why you see groups of them together, is because they're spot fed. Otherwise, you know, they wouldn't even really ever be together like that. They just wouldn't naturally in the wild. But even still, you know, I had like certain cats that lived in my bushes over here and like under my house over here, and another one's under the neighbor's house there. And you could always know where the few cats were going to be. And these two were like kind of the park cats, and they weren't really together, you know, unless it's a mom with babies. They don't do that. So cats are by nature more territorial, and it's a big deal to them to have a newcomer come in. Even if it's a baby kitten does adjust in easier than an adult cat to another adult cat. But it's tough for them. Cats don't want to share. They don't by nature want to share. They don't want to share their resources. That's their water, that's their food, that's their home, their space, their cat climber, and especially their litter box. It's just not natural to them. So you got stressed out kitten coming from a long trip home. You got stressed out resident cat or cats. So everybody's completely stressed out. So the last thing you want to do is take this kitten, drop it in the middle of your living room, let it out of its cage, and let it go. Because now everybody's even more stressed, you know, and possibly a fight could break out. I mean, there's lots of things that could happen. And, you know, that initial, just like meeting a person for the first time, you know, they say first impression is everything. That's really true with cats too. We've seen times where if that first introduction is bad because they weren't given enough time, that pair of cats may literally never bond as close and as well as they could have otherwise, just because it wasn't done appropriately. So it's very important to do the quarantine process and do it appropriately. So, you know, the big main point is to think of their emotional well-being. What will help them be less stressed is to take your new kitten and you put them in a spare room. A spare room, a spare bathroom, a spare laundry room. All those things work. You know, you put them in there with their water, their toys, their bed. You know, you feed them in there, and you try to keep everything for your resident cat as typical as usual. So, like if I were bringing in a new kitten right now, they would go in my downstairs spare bedroom, or the office / Gary's room. Sorry, Gary, you'd get the cat. But anyway, and Stubborn's routine wouldn't change. He could go on the porch like he does, be around the whole house, and sleep with us at night. You want to keep that part the same to keep the resident cat as low stress as possible, because the new cat, it's already going to be different no matter what, no matter where it is. And so you leave the new kitten in its separate area for a period of 7 days. 7 to 10 days is what we say. 7 days is really minimum. There's several other little tricks. I'll go into another video how to do that exactly. But you know, that's the main reason, is to keep them emotionally well, keep them low stress, and also because just like people, we know during times of stress is when we're going to get sick, if we're going to get sick with something, and that's the time that either pet could get sick. You could have a resident cat in your home. You know, Stubborn hasn't had a cold ever, I don't think, but I could bring in this new kitten and he's going to be stressed out over the new kitten, and a couple days later he's sneezing and has a watery eye or something. He caught himself basically a upper respiratory cold because he stressed himself out. And then 4 days later you might have the kitten over there sneezing because it stressed itself out, you know, and suddenly both cats are sick. So now you're okay though, because you got sick cat over here, sick cat over there. You know, you can let the colds just run their course 3-4 days. You know, of course we recommend bringing them to the vet and have them checked just in case. But mostly it's just no different than a person's, common cold, and you just let it run its course, and then they're better. And when they're better, you let them get to know each other. But there again, if you just brought the new kitten in, dumped it in your house, and then a few days later, one of the two gets sick, you know, now whatever that kitten got sick with, they might give to your resident cat, or your resident cat gets sick and gives it to the kitten, and suddenly you could have a big problem on your hands. You know, because people and animals, we get sick with different strains of things. I liken it to, you know, I try to get people to realize, you know, I'm living in Florida, say I was adopting a kitten from our Virginia location. That kitten coming here to Florida, to Stubborn, is like from a foreign land. You know, that is no different than that kitten coming from another country across the world. So it would be no different than me traveling to Hong Kong, let's say. And what do we all do when we travel to, you know, I don't know, I've never traveled to Hong Kong, but I know if you're traveling to a more exotic place, not a, you know, like US, Canada, whatever, you go to the doctor and you get certain preparations, like there's certain vaccines and stuff, because they have different things, they have different infectious things than what we do here, and you have to be prepared. And so it's along the same lines. It's like that kitten is from a foreign country. There may be, you know, some cold thing there that the kitten might have in its system that Stubborn's never been exposed to. And, you know, just like with people, again, if you come back from a foreign country and you're sick and you go to the doctor, what's one of the first things they're going to ask you? Have you traveled outside the US? Because what's normal cold to them could be like the worst flu you've ever experienced to you, you know, and that's the kind of thing that can go on, you know. And again, it's not to say that anything's wrong with little nudist cattery. This is not just, you know, a risk with our kittens. It's a risk with any kitten from any cattery, from any shelter, from outdoors, from anywhere, because just like people, everybody gets colds. It's just a thing. It just happens, you know. There's no avoiding it. We live in a world of bacteria and viruses, and so, you know, we have to take the precautions. So those are really the big reasons. It's just to keep everybody low stressed, keep them safe and as healthy as possible. And yeah, it's really a non-option. You've got to quarantine. You really need to quarantine for the health of the animals. So that's why to quarantine, and then tomorrow I'll follow up with more information on exactly how to appropriately quarantine, just in time, because Mr. Man's getting wiggly. You know, he just wants to get back out on his porch, don't you? Say bye.